Welcome back, audience. Just want to record a message real quick. Where do I begin? I want to talk about this phenomena of laws being a temporal thing, meaning they are temporary and they're always evolving. And looking at the laws of nature as one, they keep on changing. There's a lot of laws in physics that or science that's supposed to be constants, and they're not constant. The gravity is changing, the speed of light is changing, lots of things are changing, right? And this is being sort of investigated by Rupert Sheldrake and his philosophy and his theories and his ideas. You can check him out. But what he's proposing is this idea of morphogenetic fields that are continuously evolving. And it's like a memory that keeps on being updated or reprogrammed. Okay. And in nature, for example, this Lamarck's idea that the way the animals evolved wasn't just random, which is what Darwin was trying to propose. It's just completely random, and some of them had longer necks, and so they were able to reach a higher fruit, and therefore they survived better than the others and stuff like that. But what Lamarck is suggesting is that it's not like that. That the very intent of the animal to reach the longer fruit, desire of the genuine desire of the animal, created that effect on morphogenetic field, which is how the animal is structured, and that's what determines of how animal structures morphogenetic field. Adapted the morphogenetic field for that animal to evolve, having a longer neck, reaching the higher fruit and the higher trees, right? This way, it explains evolution as a continuous evolution of these laws of nature or the habits and stuff like that, right? Uh, so then we have to say that the laws are not fixed in stone; they have to keep on updating, and that includes the written laws in a society. They have to be pliable and flexible and always adapting with time as time changes. And the time changes is when you do. My theory and my idea is that the entire galaxy, the entire galaxy change when you do. When your consciousness truly change, the entire galaxy changes. And really it's more correct of saying that the entire galaxy keep on going through the changes and um, sort of like applying the stimulus for the human consciousness to evolve too, right? And then if you go with that, which is a certain type of a chemical process that you gotta go through to keep like the most recent, most updated version of you, then you're like up to date, right? And living closer to peace and bliss, and you're an up to date human or soul. And but there's also possible not to go with this evolution and resist this evolution, and that's when the ego is born. That's how the beliefs are born, and other type of memory. So now we have these principles which are like infinite code or infinite memory or something that never changes, but there is a code that never changes, that upon which everything is based on. You can call it the God principle, whatever. I think David Bohm was calling the implicate order of things. But I don't think he distinguished the infinite code with the temporal code. And the temporal code is the laws of nature, which are always evolving. And your nature as a person always evolving also, all the time, right? But for some reason, I see animals can't really do that. They can't really oppose the evolution. They have a more that innocence that, like, okay, oh, I want this, and then there's this change in the morphogenetic field, and it changes. That's how evolution of the pack animal consciousness evolves, and their behavior and everything. And if you watch the birds flying in the flock, and it seems like electromagnetic dynamics are going on, how the hell can they coordinate everything so spontaneously, so easily, and create this beautiful seemingly electromagnetic wave patterns? And the way they can do that is because they all belong to morphogenetic field. Okay, and so every species has their own morphogenetic field, including humans. Okay, and when you if you refuse this morphogenetic field, which is the law of nature and the way humans interact up to date, and especially sometimes when the law contradicts that, right? The written law may contradict the morphogenetic law, and so therefore there is a pressure for that law to be changed, to the written law to change, to adapt to the way the consciousness works now. And this is why you have these, phenomena of having these um, uh, tyrannous and abuse of power, so to speak. But it's not really, we use that word so freely, power, that people in power, they don't have, most people don't have power. They have control, but it's a type of an abuse. The power is nothing to do with ego. Um, and so now we have those three, right? There's infinite code, temporal code, and then the broken code. Okay, the broken code is ego. Animals can't do that. They may do it, like some domesticated animals may display some signs of like a small ego, but it's usually still quite temporal and it's not lasting. But humans tend to uh, get backed up and not go with the evolution of morphogenetic field. They seem to have this um, capacity to resist it temporarily, because you can't resist the morphogenetic field. It has too much of the pressure and power for the human to resist the morphogenetic field. And how does it manifest? Somebody suffering, somebody suffering, somebody trying to keep the control and stuff like that. And as we all evolving and doing our chemical work and becoming closer identified with the peace and bliss as our true identity, what happens is that it creates these pressures on these outdated broken codes of being, and it becomes this space or planet or your reality uninhabitable by these beings, these entities, and then they are experiencing a lot of pain and lose their minds. This is why they have to let their egos go, shed their skin, uh, or they will not be able to survive this influence of this morphogenetic field upon them. Okay. Um, and some people could say, where is this morphogenetic field stored? Is stored in consciousness. It's stored in consciousness. Uh, all information is stored in consciousness, which is you. And it actually is accessible to you directly, internally, not externally. It is accessible. Now, I want to say something about this existence of ego and how it's not natural. It is unnatural. Um, I'm not really sure of why there has to be a phenomenon of ego in the first place. It appears to me that it appears to me that it's more like a lesson that induces so much suffering in the individual that makes them to go with their natural self and natural, who they really are. You see, and in a masculine in a masculine sense, that's real power. Real power, not ego. Ego is not power. Ego is weakness, and it's just like usually waste of energy. The real power, how I define real power, is the ability to affect the morphogenetic field in this case. And the ability to affect morphogenetic field based on this infinite pattern that you can only discover within yourself, not through knowledge. You can only discover that infinite code inside you as that bliss and that peace, which is two types of energies, out of which you can create anything you want. And you can't create anything corrupt out of these energies. This is why you get the authority of having this power, not ego, not control, or of something against the natural flow of things, but the true real power, which nobody uh, would oppose the true power if they did not have ego. Only ego is trying to oppose real power, but it's very sad view, because it's encoded in the entire universe that like that force, you can't stand against that force. You're just going to destroy your life. And but you can join that force, and then you can have a power of fulfilling your soul desires, but you got to let your ego tantrums go in order to fulfill your soul desires, you see. And right now, people who are want to fulfill their ego tantrums, they finding it very difficult and to survive. And some will change and some won't, and we don't know which ones that's going to happen, but that's just the way of things, right? um and I want to add something to this, that ego is a belief. Okay, I know people use this word to say like, hey, you gotta believe in this. Every time you believe in something, it introduces the doubt also. So you are becoming the internally struggling with the reality itself, and that's ego. I don't want to use the word the belief, right? You can function in this world with no beliefs. You don't have to have beliefs to function in this world, because this uh, the memory or the habit, or the way of things can run your life like that naturally, right? The nature Does nature have beliefs? But like, then you say, well, if nature doesn't have any beliefs, then how can it create these leaves that look like that? you know I have these, I don't know if you can see this, I have these massive, look at this, I can't zoom in, these massive leaves. Now, how does nature create this? It must have memory to create this, and it does have memory to create this. And the same thing, you can create anything in your life like that with no beliefs. And the way you do it is that you is imagination. And you can use imagination through your ego, or you can use imagination through your, your soul, from that peace and bliss. And that's just how everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people say, like, hey, if you want to create something, go from that stillness and that peace and imagine, and from there you everything's going to be colored with wonderful colors and beautiful feelings and stuff like that, right? And then you can't create something that is bullshit. You can't go and to create something that is revenge based. You can't create, you see what I'm trying to say? And because beliefs are something that always creates something that conflict based and is incorrect way of being, and nature doesn't really have beliefs. For some reason, humans were allowed, and the reason is probably because of the challenge, we're allowed to go on this direction, and to create this phenomenon called ego, which is a almost like an error in the system, which is a sum of beliefs. It's like three types. Like I said, there's a broken memory, which is, why is it broken, or broken code? Because it does not correspond to morphogenetic field anymore. You see, and it doesn't correspond to the infinite code. It has like its own reality that it wants to impose onto the universe, and you can't do that. You can get away with it for a little time, but it's just not worth it. But anyway, so I want to dig deeper in this idea of beliefs, and propose that we don't need beliefs, and propose that beliefs is something that is the problem. Okay, like, okay, a real life example, right? Something happens in your life, and you may assume a lot of things, which something happens to me, and I assume a lot of things, and then later I look back and like, how did I know that that's the case? Well, that's because it happened in the past. Well, okay, that's just a memory. Let's see how it really is. Observe of of how this morphogenetic field really is. And the thing is as you observe this as is, you don't have to worry about it that it's going to be something that, like, what you don't want. No, it's going to be exactly what your soul desires anyway. But when you introduce the belief, that's when you uh, introduce the friction. It's almost like things are happening in your way for you, and you may be afraid that it's not, you see. But it can't be. It can't be not happening everything, whatever your soul desire. And so and remember, in the previous video I said, accept what is, as accept what is, and the way it is, which means there's a negative emotion, accept it, alchemize it, change it into just by through attention and awareness, right? You can sit with it until it's has a degree of bliss and peace. Then imagine whatever you want and do what you have to do. At no point you have to introduce any kind of ego if you live life like that. Now, with imagination and this like manifestation craze that people are doing, just because you're manifesting with your imagination doesn't mean that you're creating something good. And this is why sometimes like people like really want it, and then they push it with this robotic affirmations and stuff like that, and that's not really what you want. Like, look, first of all, imagination, lucid dreaming, and all these other phenomena is a reward in itself. You may say, well, if I imagine, it's not really that vivid or whatever. Keep on doing it, keep on practicing it, and it will become more vivid. And not only it will become more vivid, it will have this phenomena, which is kind of crazy, that it keeps getting better and better and better, and doesn't have an end of it. It has the sensation, it's like keep getting better. How can something keep on getting better and not have the dopamine hole as well? There are feelings inside of you that every time you access them, they are better than before. Why they're better than before? Because you're comparing with the old version. So they're always, the perception of those feelings are that they keep on better and better and better. How is this never ending? But there is this phenomena in some people exploring consciousness can tell you that there is this crazy, what they call trance logic, which is not like obviously the traditional logic. It has this phenomena of the feeling keep getting better and better infinitely. Okay, so as you imagine something, it will feel better and better. It will, this is just going to happen. Okay, and you're going to enjoy more and more and more. And so, and that the whole point is to be able to enjoy this anytime you close your eyes and have this as vivid as possible, and with all these feelings and sensations and patterns that you desire, right? And it's just like boom, like you're there already. All desires are fulfilled. They're your true soul desires. And the paradox is that you can keep on enjoying that never ends. If you insist that like, oh, it has to come into your physical reality, then it reduces the belief, and it reduces doubt and all this other nonsense. But the thing is that it's not about it coming into your physical reality. That's not really your concern. Your concern is to fulfilling your desires and having the astral reality as your primary dwelling world. You see, where all your desires are already fulfilled at a moment's notice. And you can develop that, and it appears to me that it can develop. When I, for example, before, my imagination wasn't as good, and I wasn't able to feel that vividly, and now it's getting better and better and better and better, and it's deepening my experience of the physical reality. Like, drinking this juice is much more enjoyable because of my imagination. And it's not just like getting a hit of sugar to pacify like a negative feeling or stuff like that. Like, it's the enjoyment that keeps getting better and better. And without imagination, that is not so. Okay? And ultimately, imagination is when you are able to lose a dream anytime you want, anytime you take a nap, anytime you sleep, and enter reality that you like to enjoy at its complete immersiveness and the most ecstatic feelings that you can possibly experience anytime you want. Now, my question would be, is like, when you really want something to come into the physical form, and then and sometimes I have this stupid tantrum that pops up, but then I later look at it, it's like, oh, that's freaking silly, like why would even that pop up? But then sometimes it does, and it's like, oh, when it's gonna, and then I realize, oh, I'm I got distracted with this thing. Like, okay, it's not about the coming in my reality, it's enjoying it. And look, I have to say something. Like, if you would manifest something that what you really want, and it would just come in your reality really quickly, and you would have the form of it, but no depth, like that feeling was not developed yet. It just came out very, very quickly. But if you desire something and you keep on dreaming and dreaming and dreaming, the quality of it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, infinitely. And so when it comes into reality, you experiencing not only the form but also the depth of it all the way. And then you can really kind of enjoy. But the thing is that you don't really want your dream, so to speak, come true too fast. Because when it happens, then what? You see? So if your dream takes like 1 year or 2 year, it's not really your concern, because it's so enjoyable for you to imagine that feeling, and perhaps like you develop uh, um, whatever you want to imagine better and better and better and better, and it keeps on developing, and you keep on enjoying it more and more and more. You may not want this to end, kind of thing, right? Or if it comes into your reality, you want this to come when you are at like this, the deepest point of enjoyment of it, that you can have enough of it, and at the same time you can fulfill it. Does that make sense? I'm saying that let the fruit ripen, because the growing of the fruit is still not still, it is the whole point. Does that make sense? And because if you make this astral reality or imagination as the reality in itself, because it is reality in itself, in your imagination and lucid dreaming and astral projections, all that stuff, it is a reality in itself that perhaps we got to now brush off and go back and develop it to the point where it becomes more enjoyable than this reality, or because this is just a projection of it. And through that imagination, this is how we go in projecting these things in our imagination, and they come in and being encoded in this morphogenetic field of this reality, and that's how everything starts shaping, because you've imagined it inside, and then you create that morphogenetic field, and that morphogenetic field keeps on attracting all sorts of structures to shape that in the way it is. And at no point you need to believe in anything. If you take this astral reality as primary reality for you to dwell in, and I have to agree that, like, yes, if you can experience sensations and feelings and thought patterns more vividly than in this reality, then, or more deeply, then it would obviously take over the precedence, right? So, and that can be practiced and developed. Right now, for example, if I close my eyes, I can imagine pretty good, but it's not about the pictures that come into my mind. It's about that the feeling that I have when I imagine it is so deep that you can say it's more real than my physical reality used to be, because my imagination is developing, and every sensation and feeling becomes deep in my imagination. The physical reality also has that quality, because now my physical reality is not just the physical solid things, it has that quality of that imaginary world, if that makes sense, right? I'm no longer live just physically, I'm also in the astral reality where these feelings can be enjoyed, because here it's just like sensory inputs. But without the astral world, it's just like maybe somebody may I don't know, you may there might be some sensory input, somebody's let's say touching you, and it's just nothing, or then somebody's touching you and it's just like you feeling amazing. The difference is imagination and your astral uh, 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 consciousness. Okay. And this way, you don't need to believe in anything. You don't need to, and it doesn't have any doubts, because doubts will always come in um, if you. That's the trick. The doubt will always come in if you don't take the astral reality or your imagination as a reward in itself. Okay. You either live in your imagination or in thinking. You either run through the beliefs or through fulfillment of your desires. I know what I'm saying here, it's pretty bonkers, but I don't think there's any other way, because you can see something with your eyes, and you may say like, well, before it may upset you, and you may say like, well, okay, it's just a monitor, this is what I'm showing. I know what I'm gonna be imagining tonight. I know what I'm gonna imagining, and that is my primary source of enjoyment in life. That's where my entertainment is. That's another thing. When the entertainment right now in the world is becoming so shitty, and so basically, I made this little thumbnail that says made by AI, watched by NPC. Right? This is what's going on. Like, there's an NPC content. Like when somebody with the soul just can't look at it anymore. It's like, what is this shit? Why do people talk with this corporate intonation? What the fuck is this thing? Like, why can't you just be normal people? And so you can't watch this anymore because it doesn't have any entertainment value either to you. And so that makes me think, okay, what is the real entertainment then these days? There is, of course, there are some artists and there are some people who are create really good art that you can enjoy. But the primary entertainment value is astral reality. It's supposed to be the primary entertainment value. If you change most of your screen time to your imagination time, you're gonna see how you can't even compare it. And it will change, of course, as you keep on imagining. You will start lucid dreaming, and you will start entering the realities that fulfilling your soul desires, that in the level of vividness that you wouldn't believe. It will happen. And then once you start enjoying that, you say, okay, that is my primary source of entertainment. You see? And this is like the best effect of morphogenetic field, which is the manifestation of your desire. And no one can resist the laws of nature for too long. And you're not even gonna care if somebody is trying to oppose this thing, because you are keep on pumping and pumping infinitely. You're never gonna stop imagining what you enjoy. You see? And it's going to keep on better and better and better and better and better, because now you changed the direction, and instead of looking for something from the outside, you find everything inside at the better quality. Isn't it crazy? It is crazy, but it is crazy amazing also. What else can I say about this? It's already happening, you see. And that is real power. That is real power. And this is why, like, there is no struggle either, and there's no fighting either, because, like, would you call it fighting? If you see something in your reality that is different of how you imagine, is it fighting for you to imagine something different? No. You're just imagining whatever you want to imagine, or you're dreaming, lucid dreaming about something, whatever you want to be dreaming. You're doing it as a reward in itself. You let go, and that's letting go of attachment either. You see? But you go through your physical reality life and you do things, but you're not trying to control the monitor anymore. Things just happening based on your morphogenetic field that you've created. Okay? And there is this level of degree of freedom on the physical level but then it all ends with your skills and habits, which are part of a morphogenetic field anyway. You see, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, even a skill that you want to learn, you have to imagine in your imagination doing that skill. And so then you change the morphogenetic field, and then suddenly you have a desire to practice something, or do something. Everything, this is like, and even look, like, even if you begin imagining something what your soul desires, and you start feeling this block, you say, okay, I'm trying to imagine, but I feel this block here. Okay, then it's bringing your attention to say, okay, to really unlock this in your imagination or in your dreams. You got to alchemize first. So it brings you even to the causal reality. Say, hey, alchemize everything. As you've alchemized, then that block disappears, and then you imagine something, and it's there very vividly and brightly for you to feel and enjoy. It's so crazy. And so that's my take, basically. It really ends everything. It really ends, when I say everything, it really ends any kind of conflict and any kind of uh, fighting. The real fighting is your continuous putting attention on the negative feelings to alchemize it, continuously putting intention on your soul desires, and continuously taking action uh, that is right. And you won't need, and the very small chance that you're going to get involved in any kind of conflict. Okay, and so this is basically what would define a a true liberated being, not nonsense and false, because you enjoy all three levels: causal, astral, and physical. You don't deny any of them. You enjoy them all, as in the level that is meant to be enjoyed. Okay. I call them degrees of freedom. I don't think that there is such thing as, for example, just letting everything happen as it happens. I don't believe this. At least from the masculine perspective, this is not how consciousness works. You have to have continuous attention, continuous intention, and continuous action. That has to be so. This is why it's not like everything's kind of automated. You know, everything just happened. I don't see it that way. I don't think that, like, yeah, you could sit on the butt and a peace and bliss and do nothing, or some people did, but I don't think it were good examples. I think they actively tried to resist participating in the game of life, and I don't consider that right. I don't consider that right. I don't. I mean, you can say, well, they just held the frequency, and but there's no reason why they couldn't have lived a engaged in life as well. It's not mutually exclusive. I think that it was easier to just hold the frequency and not engage in life, because there's another level that you are required to alchemize when you are fully engaging in life. Because what you're saying that I'm going to change myself altogether with the reality that I'm in. You're not saying that, well, I'm just going to sit and on my ass and do nothing in bliss. It's a different game, and this is why i I admire somebody who are engaged in all those three levels of consciousness in three worlds, right? It's not just going to happen unless you. And by the way, that's the most exciting place to be in, when you are putting attention on the right feeling, uh, putting an intention on the dream that you want, and taking action to that is required for you to um, manage your physical matters. I just don't see the any other way. Anything else is a distraction from the point of the game of life. I looked at it very carefully. I looked at this idea of like, well, um, if you do this, then it will appear that everything is just happening effortlessly. But you didn't arrive there through just letting everything happen. Does that make sense? You can't get there from there. Otherwise, what would be, like, so there again, I'm saying that there you have the free will is where you place your attention and the causal level. You have the free will where you put your intention on the astral level, and you have the free will where you put your action on the physical level. There are these 3 degrees of will, and I don't consider ego as a will. This is why, like, if somebody has like ego tantrum or whatever, that's not to be uh, acknowledged, celebrated, or whatever. That's to be alchemized. And it's not, whatever ego wants, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what my ego wants, or because to me it's just to be alchemized. And I also have to differentiate the ego from like your natural body needs, because the ego is when you're trying to keep the idea to survive, and it hurts you when the idea is under attack. But your natural level of what you call it, body mechanism, right, which is like I don't want to call it ego because it's not ego anymore, but it's this body survival mechanism that is we're supposed to, like, all these ego functions should exist. You protect your physical body, you make sure that physical body has all the nutrients that are necessary. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's that's where all those mechanisms that we're trying to protect the idea is protecting your body. And so when the less the ego, the more you actually take care of your body. You don't become weak and just let everybody to walk all over you. No, you become strong in your body, and you don't let anybody to threaten you physically or otherwise, right? And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Man, look at that. It got really dark, huh? Anyway, peace. I'll see you in the next one.